I made a police report for the very first time. One of my friends who I play poker with some semi-regularly just moved into a new apartment and wanted me to help him mount the TV to his new apartment wall. And so I decided to ride my bike over to his place. You know, it's maybe a 30, 40 minute, 8 mile or so bike ride. And so I put the directions into Google and click on the little bike symbol to show that I'm trying to take bike trails. And it shows me this one path I wasn't aware of called the Cottonwood Creek Trail in Dallas. And it said, you know, this route is maybe 4 minutes slower than the other route, but it's a trail. You won't have to deal with cars and yada, yada. So I was like, oh, heck yeah, I've never tried this trail. Perfect opportunity. I'm going to take the slightly longer ride, take Cottonwood Creek Trail, and make my way over to him in 30 to 40 minutes or so. So I start going down this trail, and it is probably the most secluded place I can think of in the city of Dallas, like in the middle, like it's in the middle of the city of Dallas, but it is extraordinarily secluded, right? When you're on this path, there is like no roads for like probably, I mean, nobody's getting you quick, right? If something happened on that trail, it would take like an ambulance or the police or whatever, probably at least 10, 15, 20 minutes to get to you, because not only is it a long path, there are very few outlets to roads. There are no roads nearby. It's very heavily wooded. It's just like a very secluded spot in the middle of Dallas. And so for that reason, I understand why there's a lot of homeless people there, right? It's the middle of freaking summer in Texas. It's 100 plus outside. And I get it, right? The city isn't exactly super friendly to homeless. They tend to do the really lazy, instead of providing housing or providing services for them or helping them get off their feet and start their lives. They're more interested in just pushing the homeless people around, get them out of my area, get them out of my area, get them out of my area. And so the homeless people just forever keep moving around. And so they have to congregate in places that are a bit more secluded and also that are a bit shadier, because it's 100 degrees outside. They have to have some kind of shade. They can't spend all the time out in the sun. So it doesn't surprise me that this trail has a lot of homeless people in the shaded spots. And that doesn't really bother me whatsoever, right? As long as the homeless, as long as you're minding your own damn business and you aren't bothering me, I could care less if you're over in the shaded spot, in the little part where the path goes under a road and you kind of have those slanted pieces of concrete under the road that are shaded. Look, man, if you're homeless and that's one of the few shaded spots you can find where you're not going to get harassed every couple hours by cops or whatever, be my guest. I could care less, okay? But as I'm going down this path, it starts to get kind of denser and denser with homeless people. There's more and more. And it's not really a problem until I reach one of those underpass parts where the path kind of goes under the road and the road is almost like a little bridge. And at that point, these three guys had roadblocked the path. They had like half of the path was blocked up by like this by a bunch of their stuff, including a bike and a bunch of random other garbage. And they were kind of hanging out on the other side of the path, creating this really narrow bottleneck in the middle, probably just wide enough for my bike to get through. And so as I'm approaching, it gave me like super sketchy vibes. Like I don't get sketched out very easily. I'm a pretty like confident. I'm not, I'm an athletic, almost 6 foot guy. Like I'm not super worried about people messing with me. And as long as I mind my own business, usually people, mind their own business. But this was one of those spots where like, as I turn the corner and I see this roadblock I'm approaching and all these people there, I'm like, ooh, this is giving me hella sketchy vibes, right? I just feel like these guys are sizing me up. I don't know. I just keep getting this itching. I start to get this feeling like, man, these guys could stop me and there's nothing I could do. There'd be nobody nearby to help me. These guys could try and knock me off my bike. There's a million different things that can happen. And so I'm super, super sketched out by this, but like I decide I'm not stopping. There's no way I'm stopping. And so I just keep rolling on through and I slow down maybe like 10% just as like a courtesy thing, but I pretty much just do blow through the little bottleneck that they created. And it was just wide enough for my bike. So I guess it was fine. So I make it through. And I turn around another corner and I had never seen anything like this in my life. Okay. It was straight up like a zombie movie. And I don't mean like a zombie movie because everybody's all like, oh, they're all like wandering around, arms out, like stumbling around or something. It was more like the scene in a zombie movie where like you have a huge crowd of like 30 zombies and they're all trying to climb over each other to get through a door or something. They're all like piled up super tightly close together. That's what it looked like. I round the corner on this path and there's another one of those underpass parts where there's like a regular road and the path kind of goes under. So it's like sort of like a bridge. And there are I swear it must have been at least 25. I counted like somewhere in the mid 20s, low 30s, just on on the small moment I was riding by, these people are all so tightly crowded together around one person on the path, and they're blocking 95% of the path. There's a tiny little bottleneck. And aside from them, there's a whole bunch of scraggler people just hanging around. And there's like this sort of like 3-foot tall stone wall that's on the right side of the path that kind of slinks its way up after the overpass. And there are just at least 20 people, all with backpacks and various things, just like sat there on that path. And so as I round this corner, I was already feeling a little bit sketched out because of the first like weird roadblock sort of thing I had to go through. But this really sketched me out because there's a humongous crowd of people. They all see me coming from on top of the hill. This is clearly not a very, very used path. I think people like me who are riding bikes very often typically know not to go down this path. So these people are like staring at me as I'm coming in, and I'm getting all I can think of is if somebody tried to make a move on me, if somebody tried to knock me off my bike, if somebody tried to stop me, if somebody tried to do something even worse, there's nothing I could do. I'm nowhere near a road. I'm nowhere near any help. And I sure as hell can't expect any of this humongous crowd of people to help some random stranger or whatever. And so I was like very worried. Again, it was another super narrow bottleneck. And this one was even more narrow than the first one I went through. And so I was super worried. Like, I didn't want to like blow through and hit somebody, like clip somebody as I'm riding through. I don't know. But I really, really didn't want to stop. And so I slowed down maybe 50-60%, but I sort of like inched my way through the roadblock. And luckily nobody messed with me. And as I keep going down the path and get through that crowd, all the people on the stone wall are like waving me on, like trying to sell me drugs. Like, yo man, you want to buy something? Blah, blah, blah. Like it was, if there's a spot you want to buy some heroin or meth in Dallas, I know the spot apparently. But yeah, so I after that's scared the hell out of me. And so after that, I immediately got off the path and took the regular roads all the rest of the way to my friend's house. So I didn't, I thought it was a pretty crazy, weird moment. I didn't really think too much of it. Take a different path, obviously, on the way home after I'm done helping him mount his TV and hanging out and whatever. Later that night, when I get home, I randomly decide, I'm like, I'm going to take a look at, like, I wonder if anybody else has had similar experiences on this trail. I'm going to Google this trail, see if I can find anybody else talking about weird stuff happening on this trail. If you go to like bike trail review websites, all of the reviews over the last like 4 or 5 years for this place are all like, this person tried to knock me off my bike. This guy pulled a gun on me. This guy punched me. This guy tried to rob me, blah, blah, blah. Like a whole bunch of like much worse stuff than what I experienced by just being a little sketched out. And so that really confirmed when I saw all that, like not just one posting of somebody saying they got messed with, but a whole bunch. I was like, oh, shit, my sketchy radar, my danger radar in my head was actually correct in that I was legitimately potentially in a dangerous situation. And so after considering that and after thinking about it a bit more, I was like, I've never filed a police report. I'm not the kind of person to complain if there happens to be a couple of homeless people nearby or, taking up some shaded spots. I don't care about any of that. But this legitimately like made me concerned for my safety at 2 different opportunities during this ride. And this is just a really cool path that I would really like to be able to ride because it actually, where Highway 75 and Highway 635 connect, this path kind of like goes under both of them. And it gives you this really cool view where you can see like the way the highways kind of like all sort of stack on top of each other in this intersection of the 2 highways. The path goes like right under it. It's a really cool path and it's in a perfect location, gets me to the other side of town. But I will not ride that path again unless I know something has been done about the road blocking or the humongous crowd of people I saw out of nowhere. Something needs to be done. I will definitely give that path a try again at some point. But I'm sketched out. And so I decided to make a police report. Now, it's not an emergency. It's not like a 911 call worthy thing. So I called 311 and gave them all the details or whatever. And it got sent over to Vice. And so the Vice Department of the Dallas, the Vice Department of the Dallas Police Department is handling it right now. And I think there's like a 2-week time frame that they'll get back to me. They asked if I wanted to be contacted again. I said, yeah, sure, why not? I'm just kind of interested to hear what ends up happening, what they have to say about it. And so hopefully, I'll give you all an update whenever I hear back within the next 2 weeks or so. I think they said by somewhere in early August, I'll hear back. But yeah, that was pretty crazy. It was the first time I've ever made a police report or anything like that. Um, it's really not the biggest deal in the world, but I think I was correct in that it was pretty sketchy. It was maybe a dangerous situation. And that if that is really the case, I think I did the right thing by letting the police know, because I'm not only worried about myself. I'm like, I'm like a 5'11", athletic, young, hip dude. I'm not too scared of people. But like if a family unknowingly decided to take that trail, or there's a whole bunch of different, I mean, I'm worried about everybody else's safety as well, besides my own. I would like to feel more safe on that path, but I also would like other people to be able to feel more safe on that path as well. So we'll see how that turns out.